I'm Jerome Weeks. Matthew Posey is a longtime actor and director in North Texas. Recently, he added a new partner to his stage work. His name is Coppertone Jones.
Is that thing on?
Coppertone Jones was born last Christmas when Matt Posey, his sister and mother, built the puppet. Or rather, partly built him. Posey likes to keep Coppertone half made and half mad. His basic design was loosely inspired by Japanese bunraku puppetry. The puppeteers dress entirely in black to keep the focus on the puppets. The three plays about Coppertone are like outrageous, bawdy versions of Punch and Judy, with sleazy bartenders and loud-mouthed prostitutes. And the newest one is set in a psych ward that may remind you of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
What happened?
Matt Posey was one of the original theater pioneers in Deep Ellum. In the mid-'80s, his theater garage helped transform the warehouse area into North Texas' own Off Broadway. Posey has also appeared in films and TV shows, from Lonesome Dove through No Country for Old Men. This year, he opened yet another storefront theater just a block from Fair Park. It's called the Ochre House, and Posey opens his newest Coppertone show there next week. Matt, welcome to Think.
Thank you, Jerome.
We'll see a bit of Coppertone later, but for now, let's talk about the Ochre House.
Yeah.
You live there. In fact, on and off for the past 20 years, you've lived in your theaters, and you must hear this question a lot. What's that like?
Well, I'll tell you, it's actually something I prefer. I like living where I work, but basically it's for economic reasons. I had a choice between having a house and having a theater, and I chose the theater part. So.
Well, it's not uncommon for photographers or painters to have studios in their homes, but they can go there to work alone. You have an audience come into yours. I mean, is that hard? There's no privacy?
I think that's probably the biggest sacrifice, yeah, is that there is no privacy. You know, but for the most part, I think too is that I'm really more interested in the process of theater and how it really adds to the community feel, and that's kind of why I hang out there and find it there.
Is there anything different about the arrangement now at the Ochre House, or do you feel like after 25 years you finally got it down? Or?
Well, my first space was about 5,000 square feet, and this one's about 1,500 square feet, so it's a lot smaller. And,
very intimate.
Yes, intimate.
Friends. The audience members, pretty much, they're all friends. They're all close.
Well, it is. It's like theater in my living room. That's basically what it feels like. Yeah.
In your dozens of film and TV appearances, you've done everything from playing a nice, nerdy computer guy in David Byrne's True Stories to being a psycho who gets your head kicked in by Dolph Lundgren in Dark Angel. Is there a kind of Matt Posey character type that casting agents are now calling you for? Or?
Well, I always put it down to psychos and lawyers. That seems to be what I basically play, But yeah, it's just, I think mainly it is that it's just the life of an actor that does character acting. They call them day players. And basically what it is that I work on film, and it's a few days here, a few days there. So
you have played Texas sort of characters like sheriffs and mean sorts of characters, haven't you?
Yes. As a matter of fact, it's mainly the funny thing is I lived in LA for about 13 years there, and had a good run at it, but I found that I was getting more work in Texas than I was in LA, so that's why I came back to Texas.
Now, in your theater work, from the theater garage to the Ochre House, your productions have they're a kind of kamikaze theater sometimes. It's like, hustle this show on, forget about the seams they're showing, just get it on. Are you making a virtue of necessity, or is this really a preference of yours?
Well, I my inspiration comes basically, and this was back in, I think it was 1984, but my inspiration came from the Wooster Group up in New York. Willem Dafoe, Spalding Gray, Liz DeCamp, and basically they started this whole idea of saying, well, they had a boring summer one time, and they thought, well, let's just open a theater. And so I kind of took the same inspiration. I think mainly what it is that I want to address things that people wouldn't ordinarily address, and not take the main route, but take the alternative route.
And what does that entail? I mean, in this case, it's a foul-mouthed puppet, but I mean...
Right. Well, I think it hinges on original works. I think basically what it is that the process is trying to find the original idea as opposed to reenacting someone else's work. That's a lot what theater does, but the Ochre House and the Deep Ellum Theater Garage back in the day, we basically look for original stuff. You know.
This way, you're not selling a subscription season. You don't have a set schedule. You're just making it up as you go along.
Yes, it's called flying under the radar.
Now, Asylum will be your third show
Yes.
with Coppertone. What led to his creation? Were you inspired at all by Avenue Q, for instance?
Well, actually, I had heard about Avenue Q afterwards. We started the puppets in it was Christmas of 2008, and actually was inspired by my mother and my sister and myself, and we thought about putting on a puppet show. And I wanted to. I've always been interested in the bunraku and how it works with this articulation. But for the most part, with the puppets and with Asylum is that I wrote it in a trilogy to look for the demise of my puppet.
Oh.
I've wanted to put him away.
Now, in one way, Coppertone is just another character, just another stage voice. But in another way, he's very different because you're not there. You're gone. It's kind of all through him.
Right.
Does that free you up in any way?
Absolutely. I mean, it is a freedom. You know, I always say that whenever I get into the ninja suit and I'm playing the puppets, I feel like an actornaut. It's like I'm in this little capsule and there's a throttle and a thrust and we're just trying to get things, you know, in terms of action and telling a story. And it's very freeing, you know. You can say anything. I mean, what are you going to do? Blame a puppet? You just can't do it.
Is there anything that you get away with with the puppet that you wouldn't do on stage?
You know, I think I get away with everything with a puppet.
Well, we started with a look at Coppertone, and we think we'd like to end with a little bit that you taped earlier.
Okay, all right.
August 29th is the opening and premiere of Coppertone 3 Asylum. Basically, it's a bunch of puppets that live in an insane asylum. I don't know how I got there, but one thing I can tell you for sure. Don't bring the kids. You'll mess them up for the rest of your life. Basically, it's for adults who already have a messed up life. Does that make sense? Anyway, I find myself there. It's about a story of friendship, sacrifice, and basically living in an institutionalized life. So, that's what that's all about. Now, about the stick. I can tell you've been looking at it. I don't know how it got there, okay? Basically, I woke up one morning, I had a stick in my head. If I pull it out, all my brains and stuff can come out and I'll die. Period. Quit looking at me. You quit looking at me.
You quit looking at me.
Very good.
Now, you said you wrote this as a trilogy. Does this mean this is the last of Coppertone?
Well, it could be. You know, the thing is that it's been a long run. Doing puppets is kind of hard. I kind of just want to get back to just doing regular theater in a way, but there's always room for possibilities. You know, it's turned out to be a popular run, and we have a lot of people come out and they seem to enjoy the puppets. So I would certainly bring them back for that sense.
Well, thank you, Matt, and thank you, Coppertone, wherever you are. Coppertone 3 Asylum opens next week at the Ochre House. For more information, go to artandseek.org.